In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God to whom all praise is due, the Lord of the worlds, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. And in the name of his true servant and last messenger, our beloved leader, teacher, and guide, the messenger of Allah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I greet you, my beloved brothers and sisters of Howard University, with the greeting words of peace in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum. To Brother True Mathematics, the brothers and sisters of the undergraduate student organization, and to all of you who are present this evening, it is a very great honor, privilege, and pleasure for me to have been invited once again to this great citadel of learning, Howard University, to speak to its students, some of its faculty, and to the people of the District of Columbia and wherever you may be from. Before I begin, I must say that I'm very pleased and proud to hear the words of Brother True Mathematics, for he truly speaks logically, mathematically, truthfully, clearly, and sincerely. And as long as we have young men such as this brother, our future is never in doubt. I pray that Allah will continue to bless this brother and all those of you of like mind to see black people free, independent. That this college campus will not try to extinguish the light of such brilliant young men and see them as threats and radicals and voices that should be silenced. But rather that you will see them as some of the finer products that life produces for a struggling people. And whenever a people struggle for natural and legitimate aims and aspirations, such as freedom, justice, equality, self-determination, that struggle is aided by the divine supreme being. And whether we recognize it or not, out of the loins of the struggling people and out of the womb of the women of that struggling people will come sons and daughters of destiny, men and women who will ultimately take the people by the hand and lead us in the desired direction. When these voices appear among us, oftentimes they're frightening, oftentimes they're disquieting and disconcerting. It is because these voices challenge us to think. These voices challenge us to look at principle. These voices challenge us never to compromise the destiny of a people for the few little trinkets of decent living that may be offered to us. These kinds of voices are not loved generally by the classes, and they're generally misunderstood by the masses. They're not misunderstood by the masses because the masses desire to misunderstand, They're misunderstood by the masses because the classes have the ear of the masses, and they misrepresent true leadership to the masses of black people to delay, to postpone the inevitable freedom. But if that leadership is strong as it is sincere, is courageous as it is bold, is persevering as it is honest, then that leadership will outlast the ignorance of the people until the people are ready to hear, to accept, and to follow that guidance that is best for themselves. So I say to Brother True Mathematics and to every aspiring brother and sister in this audience who loves our people and seek to see our people free, the race is not to the swift, but it is to those who can endure the ignorance of our people and suffer the insults, the barbs, the slander, the evil speaking of your own people, so that your love of your people is stronger than their hatred of themselves. Until your love outlasts their hatred, that you may bring about a redemption of our people. I understand that there are many who did not like the fact that Brother Farrakhan was coming to the Howard campus tonight. And of course, my dear, beloved brothers and sisters, whoever you may be, this, of course, is your right not to desire to hear a particular speaker. But it is not our right to interfere with the rights of others who desire to hear that they may weigh for themselves. It is one thing, beloved black brothers and sisters, that we desire freedom. It is another thing to desire it and struggle for it and yet deprive members of your own community of the same freedom that you seek for yourselves. Whether you agree or disagree with each other, we must have the intelligence to hear each other out. That's right. We must develop the patience to listen to each other carefully. We must develop the patience to question intelligently and to disagree intelligently, but never allow our disagreement with each other to make us the disagreeable members of opposition, that we may be used by an ever-poised enemy who wants to take brothers and sisters who have legitimate disagreements, then use that to make brother kill brother and put us back into dark ages or time gone by. I love black people. Yes, sir. That is my life. And if you love black people, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that love is not just a word. Love represents the embodiment of certain principles. If these principles are violated, you cannot say that you love. Love is not an amorous term. It's not just an affectionate feeling. It is principles carried into practice. And the three basic principles of a people who love are freedom, justice, and equality. These are the essentials of life. If you love your brother and deprive him of freedom to express himself, then you're a liar. You do not love. If you say you love one another and you will not treat each other fairly simply because you're in a different fraternity than I am, you believe a little differently than I do, or you go to a different Christian church than I attend, and so I'm going to block you out and stomp you out because I don't agree with you. That is not justice, nor is it freedom, nor is it equality. So there is no love there. And if you study our actions are not precipitated by love. They're not motivated by genuine concern for one another. Our actions are generally motivated by our petty concerns for our little tribe or our little organization or our little religious denomination or our little fraternal order. There is something bigger at stake than your madness. That which is at stake is the very future of black people. So for your sake, for my sake, for God's sake, for the sake of our future, loving each other is paramount to the freedom, justice, and equality that we seek. And loving each other means give each other the freedom to express what we think and what we feel, and listen with patience and concern, with not mockery and scorn. That's right. We are too busy mocking each other. We are too busy laughing at each other. We are too busy putting each other down. The Holy Quran teaches us that the earth is a wide expanse. It can accommodate black birds, brown birds, red birds, yellow birds, spotted birds. It can accommodate all forms of life coming up out of the earth, in the sea, in the air. You mean to tell me the earth is too small to accommodate your idea and mine and his and hers and yours? Beloved, how can we know the truth if we will not give each other the freedom to try out our own ideas and thoughts based upon our understanding of life and the demands of life? Life is a laboratory where men experiment with ideas to draw closer to the truth. And to deny any segment the right to expand on their own idea and philosophy is to deny a factor in the problem of our search for the truth.
Yes, sir.
I hope you understand.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You know, beloved, as I came before you tonight, I wondered to myself, brother, what will you say to them? I had no prepared speech, and I was concerned. This is the first time that I've stood before the students at Howard with not a thought in my mind as to what I would say. And you know, as I sat with my brother before and told him of my dilemma, he said, it's so true that Allah forces you to rely on Him. When you are so sure of yourself, that's when you cast away the energy that might energize your mind in a very powerfully pregnant direction. But when you recognize that you really don't know it all, that even though you're a teacher, yet in order to be a teacher, one must first be a student. And that we live in a vast universe filled with knowledge. And this Quran teaches us that if all of the seas, with 7 more seas added to it, were as ink, and all of the trees were as pens, we could never exhaust the words of Allah. This Quran teaches that every word of Allah is a creature. Every creature is a word. That means that you don't know all of Allah's creation, nor do you know all of Allah's words. So if you live to be 100, if you live to be 1,000, you should live learning from the cradle to the grave. Now, beloved, the thought that comes to my mind tonight is recognition of the contribution of those who enable us to sit where we sit and stand where we stand. What is needed today, more so than anything, in my judgment, is a lack of emotion and a growth in understanding of the value of those who made it possible for us to be where we are. Whether we agree with them or not, they are a part of our being where we are.
That's right. Go ahead, brother.
Since we are here today, but today was prepared on the base of yesterday. In order to appreciate today, we must appreciate what produced today. Then we are more prepared to appreciate what we will do to produce tomorrow. We could not be here tonight thinking the kinds of thoughts that we think had not men and women paid a price for their ideas. Some of you may not believe in Christianity. You may not believe in the Bible. You may not believe in God at all. But every black person that advanced us in thinking, or most of them from this side of the ocean, came up out of this book.
Think about it.
Nat Turner had a profound impact on us, brothers and sisters. All those of us who struggle will look at Nat Turner. We'll look at Denmark Vesey. Won't we? And we respect them, don't we? We may not know all there is to know about these men, but we know that they were men who read the Bible a little differently than preachers who preached the Bible.
All right.
And while others were being enslaved by the Bible, these men saw in the scriptures that there was in fact a liberating force. And when they seized that liberating force and stood up on the principles of truth and right to defend and fight for their liberation, they struck a blow. And that blow is recorded in history. And though cowardly men and women have gone on never to be remembered, though Nat Turner and Denmark Vesey were not successful, they laid the base for our potential success today. Can we say that because we would not take up their same fight, that their fight was an error in judgment? No, their struggle led us closer to the truth. Would you agree? Yes, sir. Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner, Sojourner Truth, David Walker, Harriet Tubman, they all came out of this Bible. They were reading the same scripture that the handkerchief head reader was reading. Handkerchief head was busy trying to read "Servant, obey your master." But those who wanted to be inspired by the historical account of those who fought for their freedom found in the pages of the scripture historical accounts and prophetic accounts that inspired them and triggered in them strong principle. And these men rose up out of these pages to challenge the social order of their day.
That's right.
They are dead, they are gone, but they contributed to the body of knowledge that increased us from one generation to another. Beloved, I don't stand here today oblivious of the great contribution of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. That man Marcus Garvey broke with the traditions of the past. That man, Marcus Garvey, gave us a body of knowledge that started what is called a nationalistic trend of thinking among black people. Whether you love Mr. Garvey or not, I don't think that there is a brother or sister in this room that should not honor and respect Marcus Garvey. Because anytime you think of Africa, anytime you think of blackness, anytime you think of doing something for yourself, you have to think of Marcus Garvey. And it's not an accident that Marcus Garvey met with a Muslim named Dus Muhammad. Now, even though this man that taught Marcus Garvey was a Muslim, Marcus Garvey did not teach Islam by name. Marcus Garvey said, one God, one aim, one destiny. And that is Islam. But Marcus Garvey said, the man who will teach you religion will come later.
All right.
Marcus Garvey, his movement broken by wicked government-inspired agents among them, nevertheless left his mark on black America. Noble Drew Ali. This is a man that every brother and sister who is conscious should know something about. Noble Drew Ali also met a Muslim.
Yeah, teach now.
And Noble Drew Ali started to teach black people in America Islam. He wrote a little book that he called the Quran. It was not the Quran revealed by Allah to Prophet Muhammad, but it was excerpted from this divine book with an understanding that fit the need of the people at that time. Now, Noble Drew Ali's movement began to flourish in America, so much so that the government was deathly afraid because he knows the penetrating effect of Islam. He knows, as one writer says, Islam feeds the warlike propensities of the black man. Islam is a religion, as it is called, but it is not a religion. It is the nature of God and the nature in which He created life. Islam is an ordered, disciplined way of life. And no black man, yesterday or today, can be successful if our life is not ordered by principle and if there is no discipline seen in our community. Now, when black people become ordered, when black people become disciplined, Caucasian people fear. Because a disciplined, ordered people suggests organization. And when black people are organized, not that your religion is an organized religion, but if it is any religion at all, it will organize people. White folks were deathly afraid of Marcus Garvey, but they were more afraid of Noble Drew Ali, even though Marcus Garvey had 5 million or more followers. The largest group of followers of any leader that ever came up on the American continent. Nevertheless, as long as the discipline is not there, they don't fear. Now, an army marching that has no order, white folks say that's a mob.
That's right.
We all have learned mob control. But when you take 5 million black people and organize them, trouble. When Marcus Garvey's movement was broken, Marcus Garvey says, look for me. I'm coming back.
That's right.
I'll be back in the whirlwind. Look for me. Marcus Garvey knew that the ideas that he put before the world were not dead ideas. And even though men die, ideas don't. It is only a matter of time before the minds of men evolve to see the brilliance of men who are dead and gone. Noble Drew Ali was found dead in 1929, murdered. And at that same time that a Deuce Muhammad taught Marcus Garvey, at the same time that a Muslim taught Noble Drew Ali, there was another Muslim on the scene, Master Farad Muhammad, who was teaching a little black man from Georgia named Elijah. Now, brothers and sisters, something profound was going on in the late 20s and early 30s. The government of America was in trouble just like she is right now. The economy was going to hell just like it is right now. There was great unemployment just like it is right now. The night riders were rioting. Black men were being lynched and killed. Reconstruction had taken away the gains of black people.
That's right.
Meanwhile, in the teeming black community, there came strong voices of liberation. Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, and in that same era, you get a man like Father Divine, Daddy Grace, and Prophet Jones. Now you may say, oh look, don't tell me about them charlatans. Hold on. We're not going to deal with what people were or are by characterization. I want us to deal with what they contributed to our being where we are. They taught us something if we open our eyes and look. Here's a black man stood up and said, not that he was a prophet. He said he was God. I mean, this thing got so heavy, brother. I mean, I can imagine the thinking of white folks. I mean, can you imagine? A nigga saying, he's God. And look, many people are about to believe it because everybody was hungry. And Father Divine was feeding people in New York, feeding people in Philadelphia, feeding people in the metropolises for 10 and 15 cents. You could go and eat all you could. You can't say Father Divine was crazy. He knew something.
That's right.
His movement was called peace. Peace in Arabic means Islam.
All right. Yes, that's right.
But he didn't use Arabic names. He called it peace. And he changed the names of his followers. And he gave his followers names such as trustworthy, praiseworthy, honesty and truth, and all of the virtues of God. What Father Divine was doing was taking them out of a slave name and giving them a name that tied them directly to the characteristics and the attributes of the divine supreme being. Here was a man that said, I am God. People were so busy dealing with what they thought was blasphemy. It's all right for the Pope to say he's the vice-chairman of Jesus Christ. Pope can say that because he's white. They carry him around in a chair. You see people bowing and kissing his ring. You see somebody kissing a black man's ring, you say, what the hell is going on? This is because you have no love and respect for yourself, and you really don't believe that there's any divinity in you. But beloved, let me say this right now, that Almighty God, Allah, says in the Quran that He gives to man His own nature. And if God is divine and I am a sharer in His own nature, then how dare you tell me that I am not a divine man? Our refusal to look at our own divinity means that we deny the divinity of others. You cannot say, I see divinity in Jesus, and then are blind to divinity in yourself when Jesus was a man just like you and me. You cannot say that you see divinity in Prophet Muhammad, divinity in Abraham, divinity in Moses, when these were men, models for men, and then deny the divinity that is in yourself. So when Father Divine touched that theme, He was God, and started setting up little heavens. Where in those little places the word that you heard was peace, peace, peace. This Quran tells us that in that world, meaning the world of the hereafter, not in the sky, but here on the earth, after the wicked's power has been broken, there will be no vain discourse, no self-serving talk, but all you shall hear is peace, peace, peace. This is the Quran, this is the Bible. Father Divine came out of both books, and they called him a charlatan and a thief. He became rich, but he set up for the people hotels, set up little things to give them jobs, restaurants. I mean, you are already able to read his history. I'm just touching it. Now, Prophet Jones, he was another real wise brother.
Come on.
He knows something about your nature. He would dress in minks and big diamond rings, riding cars as long as from here to the next block. But he knew that when he stepped out of that car, he had your attention. You know why he knew he had your attention? You know why you buy a Cadillac when you only got Ford money? Do you know why you live in the Mercedes-Benz just to pay the note? It's not because you just extravagant. Your nature makes you desire the best of everything. And there are those who exploit your nature and mine to keep us in debt. Now, because you don't have anything, you gravitate toward those who have what you think life consists of. Money, good homes, friendship in all walk of life, big diamond ring, fine car. And you be there because you want it, so you want to know how he got it. I don't want to waste a lot of time on that. But just look at the 30s, the minds that were produced, and how each one of these men, the government officials, were frightened of. Marcus Garvey, they were deathly afraid of. Noble Drew Ali, Father Divine, especially these three. Master Farad Muhammad was there all this time. Elijah Muhammad was there all this time, but he's under the pack. He's not saying too much because he's laying the groundwork for a movement that's going to come up later. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me just before he left us, he said, remember, brother, when a seed germinates in the earth, it sends a root down long before it sends a shoot up. So when you want to build a movement, you build a movement like you make a baby. You don't make your baby in the light. You go off in the dark and don't let nobody know where you're going or what you were doing. And when they look around, somebody walking down the street can't hide it no more. You don't have to ask, did she meet a man? You look at the evidence. Excuse me. So it is when you're building a movement, when you are being surrounded by enemies, you have to be as wise as the scriptures say, as the serpent. You move right in accord with nature. Elijah Muhammad was planting seeds in those days. Here come the 30s. The stock market falls. White folk jumping off buildings, off bridges. This is very serious. I want you to think about this. White folk didn't seem to have the strength of character to face the hardships of life, knowing that life is filled with hardships and everything is not always up. It has peaks and valleys, sometimes so deep in the valley you wonder when you'll ever see a peak again. But one thing about black people, we understood even in the darkest hour of slavery, I'm going to keep on moving because I know my change will come. Black people seem to be rooted in the nature of God and the universal nature of His truth. That we understand that trouble don't last always. See, we understand that even darkness has a season. Winter has a season, but if we can hold on through the darkness, we're going to come back out into the light again.
Go ahead, Brother Minister.
So we wasn't jumping off no buildings in the 30s. Because we knew what hardship was like. This was just another day for us. Throw some biscuits in the pan, sop them in some grease, and give the babies something to eat. Take the little collard greens, take the little chitlin and fatback and whatnot, make a meal out of it. I know Muslims, we don't eat pork. But you did. Teaches that if you don't have nothing else, brother, there's no blame on you. If black folk didn't have nothing else, you didn't know nothing else, we took pork. We took the swill of the belly of a nasty creature and we made a delicacy out of death. Your parents. You gotta love your grandparents. They were marvelous people, brothers and sisters. You here at Howard today, you don't have to go through some of the things that grandma and grandpa went through, but think about what they went through to get you here. And rejoice, black man, and never sell them out. They are dead and they are gone, but you are here. Now, there was Walter White, and there was W.E.B. Du Bois, and there was the NAACP. Now, you may say that it was started by Jews with Negroes. I don't care who it was started by. I'm glad it was started. Because without the NAACP, many of the things that we enjoy and take for granted now, we would not have it. Let's be honest, brothers and sisters. You may not join the NAACP today, but there are thousands of black people who are in the NAACP. Don't call them handkerchief head niggas. that. Just because their revolutionary zeal is not up to yours, don't put them down. But they will be like you are when they know what you know. In fact, the NAACP is no more like it once was. If you listen to them talk, seems like they've caught on to something.
All right.
W.E.B. Du Bois, when I was a little boy, my mother used to bring me the Crisis magazine. And I used to read his articles in the Crisis magazine. How could I stand here today without gratitude to him?
Think about it.
I thank Allah for him. Yes, he opposed the patriarch of black nationalism in America. Marcus Garvey opposed it. But I love what life brings. I'm sure there were many people who loved Marcus Garvey who wanted to kill E.B. Du Bois. See that nigga, see how he opposing us. Like some of us think today about Farrakhan. You don't know my value.
That's right.
Because you're too busy in your little bailiwick to even consider the value of your brother. But I thank Almighty God that he kept W.E.B. Du Bois living, because Marcus Garvey, who preached back to Africa, died in England. And W.E.B. Du Bois, who said, what can we gain in Africa? He died in Africa, researching the history of black people. He, W.E.B. Du Bois, left us a legacy. So did Marcus Garvey. Can't you see? We didn't say we need one and we don't need the other. We needed them both. And that's why God gave them both to us. But look at Booker T. Washington. Some of you call him an Uncle Tom. Hey, you live in his time. And accomplish what that brother accomplished, then you can tell me whatever you want to. Here's a black man in Alabama. Got a school going. White folks at that time loved to see black folk learning to work with their hands. E.B. Du Bois said, no, we want to work with our head. Well, we weren't wise enough then to see the synthesis of head and hand. So we took sides. Now, if we had a little of W.E.B. Du Bois and a little of Booker T today, we could walk right on out of this condition that we're in, brothers and sisters. Some of you busy here getting your head together. I'm going to be a psychologist. I'm going to be a sociologist. And you look down at a brother who's trying to be a carpenter. Or a brother who's trying to be a brick mason. Go ahead, mighty black brother and sister. Get your degree, but where are you going to use it? Somebody's hands you're going to have to put to work. So don't mock the hand that's going to build what you bring out of your head. We need each other. Can't you see that? Bear with me. I'm coming to a point.
Take it time.
Now, you know, as these different movements rose and fell, each one left something for the succeeding generation to build upon, if we could read and study what these men contributed. Okay? Now the 30s are gone, the 40s are gone, we're into the 50s. And in the late 50s, about 59, that man, Elijah Muhammad, and his movement that was budding, growing in the 30s, came to national prominence. Now notice the cycles of history. Every 20 years, up and a down. Right? But every 20 years, like clockwork, I mean, black folk make a surge. White folk crush it. But when we come up the next time around, we come up stronger. We came up in the 40s and died down. We came up in the 60s. We died down. It's the 80s now. What's in store in the 1980s? Let's look back and see where we came from. Then we know where we're going. And white folks, I want to tell you what's in store. Everybody all right? Yes, sir. Now, Elijah Muhammad was more a background character. Something about this man, Elijah Muhammad, and it's such akin to God. You know, Almighty God stays behind the scene. Yeah. He makes things to represent Him. I love that. He creates the sun and then hides. Creates the moon and the stars and the vegetation. He says the heavens and the earth testify of His glory and His majesty. But now if you want to find Him, study what He created. Some of the foolish ones started worshiping the sun. He says, oh, I didn't create the sun for you to worship the sun. I want you to look at the power that's behind the sun. Look at the power that's behind the moon. Look at the power that's behind the power that gives you power. But of course, the untrained mind always stops at what represents the power, but not getting closer to the power. And that's why men worship their prophets rather than follow their prophets and their messengers to find the unseen reality behind the power of their prophets and their movements. Now, beloved, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad struggled much to get the nation up off the ground. And the nation really started moving when a young man in a prison in Massachusetts heard his word. That man was once known as Malcolm Little and became known later as Malcolm X. Malcolm X was just like you. A brilliant, young, powerful, black mind, not developed. The right agent had not struck that mind and turned it on. Many of you are the same powerful men that Malcolm became. You are that right now. But until the right agent strikes you and turns you on, you'll be like a seed ungerminated. Now, you know Malcolm went to school in this crazy educational system. He wanted to be a lawyer, and his teacher told him you'd be better off a carpenter. So Malcolm started robbing banks. Or doing little odd jobs. But now when Malcolm was turned around by the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, here was an articulate spokesperson for Elijah Muhammad's ideas, which he gained from Master Farad Muhammad, and which he also was nurtured by the groundwork laid by Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali. Now black people in America had a voice, a powerful voice to articulate our hurt, our pain, our suffering, to use the words of Brother True Mathematics, our infuriation, our anger. Malcolm spoke to that anger. And for the first time, you saw white folks cringing. What is this X that you're wearing? Why X? I mean, it's so strange. Why true mathematics? Why? What is that? I mean, you so used to Harry Jones, Larry Witherspoon, Lucindy Zonka. Somebody come up with Mr. X, that blows your mind. Black folk listening, I wonder how you gonna answer that. Malcolm explained that X in mathematics stands for the unknown. He said, my last name is unknown to me. Because when you took our fathers from Africa, you stripped us of our names. And the name that you gave us does not belong to us as a people. Those are your people's names. So I'm not your slave, now I'm free. So I should give up your slave name and then qualify myself to wear one of the righteous names of God. And that was intelligent. This X is not so dumb after all. Then Malcolm started saying that the white man was the devil. Now, wait a minute. Now, this really shook up white folks and black folks too. Black folk used to get under the bed with their radios. After they had locked all the doors, pulled down the shade, turned off all the lights, got a flashlight, got under the bed, then pulled a heavy blanket over their head and said, "Teach, Malcolm, teach." Why did we act like that? We would petrify the white folks. How could that nigga talk like that? Still be living, Lord. Somebody gonna kill him, but I sure like what he's saying. You come out the next day, act as though you didn't hear anything. Get on the job and ease into the latrine and say, "Did you hear that, Malcolm Z?" I didn't want to say nothing, but I heard that nigga too. He's crazy. Yeah, but he makes sense to me. Now all of a sudden a black man talking like that, then other black people say, "Hey, he's living, he's getting away with it." Then now a lion is in you that have found a door. Now the door busts open and another lion jump out. Start roaring. And white folks said, "Good God from Zion, the niggas is gonna get up." Now, whether you know it or not, the word of Elijah Muhammad in the mouth of Malcolm X affected a general awakening of the masses of our people. Everybody didn't love what Malcolm was saying, but everybody was affected by what he was saying. To heck with what you love. What is the effect? And the effect was white folk begin to shake in the 60s. They begin to look at their cooks, their butlers, and if the food tasted just a little funny, they would run and put their finger down their throat. I know them niggas is poisoning us. They begin to understand that something was happening in America and that black people would never be the same again. And they feared this movement. And right here on Howard's campus in the early 60s, Malcolm went to Harvard University, Yale University, but he had his eye on Howard all the time. Naturally, this being a government-sponsored and run institution. And even the strongest of the professors have to be cool. Even if they like what you're saying, they pat their toes. Because they don't want white folks to hear that they like what you're saying. But if Harvard could accept him, and Yale could accept him, and Radcliffe could accept him, then he could be accepted at Howard. And when he came to Howard, there in the audience was young Stokely Carmichael. And Howard became the Mecca of a new revolutionary spirit. All of a sudden now, the campus of Howard was alive. The men who were alphas, the men who were kappas, the men who were omegas, the men who were sigmas, the women who were deltas and AKAs. All of a sudden the Greek letter people looked up from their parties. Come on. Bring it, brother man. Come on. And they said something is happening. And they joined a movement. And Howard began to affect the thinking of black campuses all over America, because whether you know it or not, Howard is to the colleges of black America like Harlem is to black people. Whatever trend you set, that's what is set in all colleges throughout America. You want to party, you want to boogie, you want to get high, you want to lay down, you want to pop pills, then pretty soon all black America think that that's the end thing to do, because they take their lead from you. All right, I'm almost finished. Bear with me. Now, beloved, the movement started in the 60s, a powerful movement. It hit the churches with Martin Luther King, with H. Rap Brown, Stokely Carmichael, James Farmer, James Foreman. It hit the literary field. It struck our artists. And Eartha Kitt began to speak boldly. Yeah. Our artists began to challenge white folks, even in the White House. Yeah. All of a sudden, a movement had caught on, and everybody that was a Negro just a few years ago began to talk about black and blackness. A movement, a genuine movement had begun. But notice, Martin Luther King was on one side preaching integration. Malcolm and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad were on the other side preaching separation. The church joined the integration movement, but the integration movement was spawned by white folk.
Listen.
They recognized that you were on the rise, and they did not want you to gravitate toward any separatist movement. So the bourgeois intellectual element, like a true slave, always wants to be included in the master's domain. They never want to go out and go for themselves, even though it may bring a future for their people. They decided, we're going to get into the mainstream of white American life. And dear brother Martin Luther King, many of you who watched him on television saw him marching. You saw him close down that bus company in Montgomery. You saw him march from Selma. You saw white folks put fire hose on them, sick dogs on them, cattle prod them, put the women in jail, rape them, beat them. Is that right? Yes, sir. And many of us were children, or you were children, I'm just including myself with you. We're sitting back looking at TV. You saw him being hit with fire hoses, and little baby said, never me. You're saying, fight, man. Why don't you fight? This is what you're saying behind the TV. You go out on the corner with your reefer hanging out your mouth. I think, man, them niggas is crazy. Nigga hit me on my cheek, Jim. I'm gonna take his whole head. Now look, brother, this is spawning now another kind of thought. Here's integration on one side, separation on another, and coming up in between is revolution. Just look at it, brother. You can't say, I don't like Malcolm, I like Elijah, or I don't like Dr. King, I like Malcolm. You got to look at the whole thing. And the whole thing says every one of them made a contribution to where we stand right now. There are finer details that we can get into at another time to deal with who did what, when, and why. Because history affords us the golden opportunity to look back on men's lives and see mistakes while men who lived their lives lives cannot see from your vantage point. And that's why the legacy of greatness is always left to history to give you and not for you to give yourself. Hold on. Everybody with me? Let's move this to its conclusion. Now, Martin Luther King, he said he would wear down white folk with love. He was going to overpower their hate with his love. These are his words. He didn't want to be the brother-in-law of white folks, meaning he didn't want the law to make us brothers. He wanted us and white folk to truly be brothers. And I'm sure that's the sentiment of a lot of you. But the question is, can you do it? We're going to deal with that. We've got to deal with it. Because we don't want to waste time searching for things that don't exist. That's right. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Now here's Dr. King over here, Malcolm over here, Elijah Muhammad. Now Malcolm breaks from Elijah Muhammad. And he moves away from Elijah Muhammad into what is called Orthodox Islam. And then Malcolm spawns a revolutionary movement. Now you've got the separatists, the integrationists, and the revolutionists. Boy. Then you have the Panther Party coming up.
All right.
That's a marvelous movement of young black brothers and sisters. You may not have soldiered with the Panthers, but recognize what they meant to us. Young black men standing there with rifles. And they look mean, brother. They didn't look like they ever smiled. Fred Hampton, Mark Clark, just look at the cream of young black revolutionary crop. The Soledad brothers. This is the finest young black men that we produced. That's right. That's right. They didn't die in vain, beloved. They died that they could leave to us the legacy of their struggle, that we may study their struggle and extract from it the principles that we're going to use in the 80s. Right. Because the 80s promise great things for those who are wise. Right. But it promises death for those who are foolish. That's right. That's right. So, well, even wise men die, but they don't die the death of a fool. That's right. A fool is dead before he dies. So he dies twice. I'll explain that at a later time. But let's move on. Now look, beloved, white folks sitting here watching this thing. Martin Luther King now sees that he was a Negro leader. Martin Luther King looks over at Vietnam. He says, uh-oh. He says, the same people that are oppressing my people here are oppressing the Vietnamese there. Martin Luther King steps out of a safe Negro position into a sure enough dangerous position, even like Peter getting out of the boat, trying to walk on the water, brother. Martin Luther King stepped out and condemned America's policy in Vietnam. Now look, brother and sister, you may not appreciate what Martin Luther King did, but the man made a step that said our struggle is not national. Our struggle is international, and our struggle is not just tied to us, but it's tied into every oppressed people on the earth. So he was helping to broaden our vision, broaden our horizon. Not that Marcus Garvey didn't say this 30 years earlier, not that Elijah Muhammad didn't say it, but for Martin Luther King to say it from the position that he had once took. This was indeed revolutionary, and the government said something has to happen to this man. The government said, and I repeat, the government said, and the government of America number one destroyer of every meaningful black man and woman who would lead us to freedom, justice, and equality. Now just look at the government laughing at Dr. King, and plotting against him at the same time. Now that's not the act of a righteous person. That's the act of a devil. Lyndon Johnson, the Kennedy brothers, smiling with poor Dr. King, but bugging his hotel room, watching everything he does, coming up with a tape of something in his private life, threatening him. Hoover sends for him, threatens him. They want to break him now, break his spirit, because they made him a great and famous man. Notice, they made him. White folks make Negro leaders. Not that Dr. King didn't have the stuff, but he was more safe to be made than Stokely Carmichael, Malcolm X, or Elijah Muhammad. So they pushed Martin Luther King because he was teaching love for everybody, and that's what white folks want. They want you to love everybody to your detriment when they know it is impossible. How can you love that which is diametrically opposed, actively involved in the destruction of you and your people? How can you do what God himself cannot do? Almighty God, in the Bible and in the Quran, he deals with his enemies. Hitler never killed as much as Allah. Go ahead, brother. Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, Tamerlane, put them all together. They don't kill like the great God. But when he kills, don't nobody call God a killer. He drown them out, flood them out, tornado them out, earthquake them out. He killed men, women, and children. When he gets tired of their foolishness, he deals with them. And they call it an act of God. And then everybody settle down praying. Talk, brother minister. Because whenever God does it, he's justified. I'm coming to something.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm coming to something. Poor Martin Luther King. He was caught in a bind. But look at the strength of that man's character. He was leading an integration movement. He began to see white folks don't want us. He began to see that his love wasn't going to wear them down. He had a meeting with Elijah Muhammad in Chicago. He and Sister Coretta Scott King, they met with Elijah Muhammad. Two men from Georgia, sitting down together, breaking bread, talking it over, cutting it up. White folks knew they was in trouble. Now look, Malcolm X had been killed. We were blamed for his murder. I don't say that Muslims did not have a desire to hurt Malcolm. I wouldn't say that, because that would be untruth. Because Malcolm had begun to say some things about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that inflamed the Muslim community, but white folks moved on that. This is why, brothers and sisters, when we don't like each other, for whatever the reason is, we have to be very careful about the public positions that we take. Because whenever we meet, the enemy meets with us. And they exploit our differences. And they exploited the dislike between the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and those who left the nation with Brother Malcolm. And then Malcolm was assassinated, and two innocent men right now have been in prison for 17 or more years for a crime that they did not commit. One man admits he was a part of it and exonerated the other two in the trial, but they wanted to show conspiracy. So if one is guilty, link them all together, tie it into Elijah Muhammad, tie it into the nation, to use it to make black people hate Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam.
That's right. That's right.
And let me tell you, after Malcolm's assassination, those of us who followed Elijah Muhammad, we had a hard time. I mean, we try to sell a newspaper. People say, man, get that so-and-so paper out of our face. Killers, you murdered Malcolm. And there's a lot of hatred that exists right now. Because they don't ever intend to clear it up.
No.
They intend to exacerbate it wherever they can. All right, now look, I'm coming to the close of these points. Beloved brothers and sisters, now Malcolm was out of the way. His movement began to die because he had not developed his new direction. The revolutionary movement of the Panther Party, they had infiltrated it so till they were about to just destroy it. But there was Martin Luther King. And when they said that they were going to send a tape to Martin Luther King's wife of some activities of Dr. King, Dr. King would not buckle to white male. Dr. King said, whatever you're going to do, you go ahead and do it, but I'm going to stand, and the Poor People's March is going on. And when they brought our brother to Memphis, you read all the surrounding stories, those written by some of our brilliant brothers, among them, of course, Dick Gregory, who's a very brilliant man, not a comedian by any stretch of the imagination. They know that there was government involvement, but they gloss it over. Dr. King is killed, and black folk erupt. In over 30 cities, we start burning as though we're under the command of a masterful general who sent a word into 30 to 40 cities to say, burn it down. I mean, this shook up America, brothers and sisters. 30 to 40 cities on fire, and this one is not connected to that one. They just burn it.
Burn.
Look, you may not have analyzed it, but white folks did. They went back in their room, and they said, See, these niggas got all these black TV shows, and we've been putting them on the nightly news. So it's galvanizing their minds and giving them one way of thinking and looking at things. After they killed Dr. King, and they started praising him and naming boulevards after him, they immediately started cutting black programs off television. And the word black now was being minimized. Just look at it, brother. Now Elijah Muhammad comes to the point where Elijah Muhammad departs from us. Some use the word dead. I don't care to use the word that he died, because in my judgment, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is very much alive. In my judgment, I cannot speak of him as dead, because the word that he taught, the principles that he gave us, the program that he gave us is alive. And if it is followed, it will lead us to where we want to go. So how could he be dead and give us something that is affecting our lives? This Quran said, those who are slain or die in the way of Allah, speak not of them as dead. They are not dead, but you perceive not. Let me go on. Now, Imam Warithdin Muhammad takes over the leadership of the Nation of Islam. And history tells us many changes were brought about. Is that right?
That's right.
Some of these changes you love. You say, well, I'm glad the dress code has been relaxed. I'm glad the discipline has been relaxed. But that's cool, man. That's really cool, you know? Then you saw white folk coming into the temples and you said, now wait a minute. Then you saw schools closed down, you saw businesses closed down, you saw a whole new character and development take place among those who once followed the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And you saw some that used to love Elijah Muhammad now condemning him and even showing hatred for him. Now, time goes on. And if you notice, the movement of Imam Waruddin Muhammad affected the total black community. I mean, you cannot say that it was a lightweight man with a lightweight movement, because lightweights do not affect the whole populace. That man and the work that he did, he produced the antithesis of what his father gave us as a thesis. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And the validity of the antithesis would have disproved the thesis. But if the antithesis were disqualified, then the validity of the thesis would be verified.
All right.
All right, now follow this. Now you think that a wise God is not behind all of this movement. You out of your mind.
Yeah.
There's never been a time when the God was absent from the movement of black people toward their liberation. You just have to open your eyes and see the light behind that veil.
All right.
Now, Waruddin Muhammad, whether you agree with him or disagree with him, he had a profound work to do and a profound effect on black people. Because those of us who love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he forced us to reevaluate what Elijah Muhammad taught.
Right.
And it's not good enough that you believe in a man because you are emotionally attracted to the things that he says and they're appealing. But you now must prove the validity of your stand. Otherwise, you're not justified in holding on to it. Waruddin Muhammad made us to either prove Elijah Muhammad is correct or incorrect. And if he's incorrect, then we have no right to hold on to him. But if he is proved correct, then we have every right to validate his thesis and then act on the principles thereof. Now I want you to follow what I'm saying. I say this with no malice, no bitterness. Because a man who becomes filled with malice and bitterness because of events that he has no control over is a fool who doesn't understand the workings of the will of God. But look, beloved, as time went on, the movement called Nation of Islam just died. And many of you that may have been affected by that movement, you said, man, if the nation could go like this, there ain't no hope. And many of you went to the disco, went to the party, picked up the reefer, but even more deadly, you picked up the white woman. Hold on. Now, white men have always been easing in and out of our house. Otherwise, we wouldn't look like we look. But we have never been easing in and out of his house. But today now, to make a final blow at the black man to keep him from rising in the 80s, because it's time now that the cycle repeat. But this time come to a conclusion. White folks recognize the conclusion is about to be arrived at, so they want to block you from seeing the reality of that conclusion, so they drop a white woman in your lap. Now hear me good, I'm not a racist. I love your explanation of a racist, brother. You cover my flanks beautifully. Just teasing, of course. But listen, my dear brothers and sisters, white folks are not crazy, they're thinking. But listen, my dear brothers and sisters, White folks are not crazy, they're thinking. They fixed this white woman up for this time. Many of you, my beautiful sisters, you know, you're hurt over black men. You're hurt over our lack of understanding of your true needs. You're hurt to see that black men only see you as a creature for comfort and pleasure, but they don't recognize that there is another side to you that hungers to be fed, to be nurtured, and to be recognized. And it's not just their fault, sister, but you present yourself to your black men in a way that they can't see what you represent for seeing what you present. Yeah. Now, if you present me with, if you present me with, how do I know what you represent? I'm looking at what you present. And I like so well what you present, I don't give a doggone about what you represent. Come on, baby, let's go. That's cold, isn't it? But then that makes us, brothers, that makes us like animals, in that we never get on the human level with our women. We never reach the divine level in our relationship with our women. We never reach a human and divine level in our relationships with one another. Now we are set for slaughter. Here's our woman, poor, beautiful black woman.
Yes, sir.
She parades her finery till someone takes it. And after they take it and misshape it, they leave it.
Yes, sir.
Going on for some more finery. Meanwhile, you got some children. You beginning to get bitter.
Yeah.
Men ain't nothing. You're not too wrong, but still. It's not their fault. They were made this way. Men ain't nothing. So now a man can't cope with you. You marry a man and you're happy for a minute, and it's just a minute. A few minutes later you're sick of him. He can't handle you. Next thing you see him on the campus, he can't deal with a woman, but he'd much rather deal with a man. So, yes, we've never had such a heavy problem of black male homosexuality as we have right now, brothers and sisters. Now, if I love black people, you know I got to mention this. Sisters don't want to be lesbian, but they feel that maybe men don't understand their needs. Another woman does. So they turning in on each other now. Now look at the condition that we're in. In the 80s, it's time to move. The cycle has come back again. Here we are. White man has thrown a white woman in your lap. She's in the gym all day long, pushing, pumping out, getting her form, doing her little exercise and whatnot. She may be 80 years old. She presenting herself with a flat stomach, curvaceous hips, and herped lips. Here you are, brother. You're on your way to hell with your white woman in your arms. You don't want to hear no talk about nothing black. Colors out the question. Look, I'm human. Don't deal with me no black stuff. Huh? Of course you're human, beloved, but you are also black. Well, wait a minute. I ain't gonna deal with that. Why not? Are you afraid to deal with reality? How can you handle reality on another level and refuse to accept reality on the level that it is most prevalent? Yeah. So you with your white woman, and here's your black woman. She's just eating all day long. Sitting by the window, looking at the soap operas. She just growing up, growing up. Some of the poor sisters haven't seen their knees in years. I mean, it's sad. Beautiful black woman, losing yourself because you feel unloved and unwanted and unprotected and unneeded. And here we are in 1983, the most fateful decade in the history of America and the world. And you are popping pills and snorting cocaine, smoking reefer, thinking about the disco and thinking about some behind, and there's nothing else on your mind. You are in terrible, terrible condition now. And white folks actually feel as though we have accomplished it all now. We have destroyed their leaders. We have destroyed their movements. We have destroyed their minds. We are now working to destroy the womb of the black woman. We have chemicalized the water, chemicalized the douches that she takes, so that the walls of her uterus are being broken down so that she won't bear no more black babies to plague us in the future. Because white folk know that it is your womb, black woman, that is going to produce a Moses, a Hannibal, a Muhammad, a Jesus. It's coming out of your womb. In the black community, I'm going over. In our black community, you in your group and me in mine, this one in this organization, that one in the other. Hell, they don't know what they talking about. None of them niggas teach hate over there. Or these niggas is praying all day. Or these niggas over here wants to get guns and kill somebody. Look at that nigga, true mathematics. Where the hell did he get a name like that? I mean, look, this is the way we talking. We are all isolated. Am I telling a lie, brothers and sisters? Look at our condition now. But beloved black brother and sister in this audience, I don't care how dumb, dead, silly we look. Underneath all that madness, there's a powerful brother and sister developing. Some developing in religion, some developing in philosophy, some developing in history, some developing in warfare, some developing in revolution, but all of us are developing, each one evolving at a rate of speed consistent with his own and her own nature. Now, we come to the conclusion. I say, as the scripture teaches, all things work for good for those that love the Lord.
Yeah.
What do you mean, the Lord? The Lord in English or in Hebrew is Rabbi. The Lord in Arabic is Rab. And Rab means he who nurtures, nourishes, feeds, evolves, grows a thing and makes it into stage after stage until it reaches its eventual perfection. Everything works for good to those who love the Lord. Meaning, if you love the fact that there's a wise creator that is watching this whole evolutionary development, and that wise creator is making us attain stage after stage. But we are on our way to our eventual perfection, and we must not hate the trials that we come through, nor the tribulations and the affliction that perfects us. For the Quran teaches that hell is meant for purification. And the more hell that the world puts on you, they are producing a finer product. The greater the pressure, the finer the jewel. So here we are now, ready to evolve. White folks have done it all, and they laughed and they said, we're over now. They put on television different strokes. And they got a young, brilliant black boy calling a white man daddy. And we sitting at the TV laughing. That's cute. What you talking about? They're turning your mind all the way around. But now look again. Something has happened. In my conclusion, in 1977, after I traveled nearly throughout the world, looking, searching, confused, wondering whether what I had taught from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was true, Imam Warithdin Muhammad shook the very foundation that I thought was so firm and unshakable. I had to revalidate it or leave it. I found evidence of the correctness of the teaching of Elijah Muhammad. So I decided in 1977, I'm going to stand and rebuild the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but not unmindful of all of these great men and women who brought us hither, thither, and yon to make us the people that we are. I knew that in this development, I couldn't speak just as a Muslim. I had to speak as one who was a Muslim but also baptized in Christianity. I had to know both sides. I couldn't speak as one who was not a revolutionary or a separatist and not an integrationist. I had to speak from the mind of all. I had to speak from the mind of the one who understood the value of the development of the mind. But I had to speak from the mind of the one who knew that we had to cast our buckets down where we were. Because this is not the time of compartmentalization of the great men and women who lived among us. This is the time of the synthesis of the truths that these men lived and died for. Listen, beloved. This is the time when we must not speak to division. We must speak to that which will unify the whole. Because now this is the darkest but the greatest hour of all. The white man is preparing now for the genocide, the total destruction of black men, women, and children. And we cannot meet him as a departmentalized, fragmented, denominational, sectarian group of foolish men and women. We must meet him as an organized whole. That's right. Now listen, beloved. I ask you, let us look at these 4 words and conclude. Segregation, miscegenation, integration, separation with reparation. Where do we stand? You and I have to provide a future for our children. Now, don't think about what is just good for you personally as an individual, but let us think about what is good for the whole of us. And we are now 30 to 50 million black people in America, the second largest black nation on earth. Nigeria first, and there's a toss-up between us and the black people of Brazil. We have nothing that we can call our own. Do we want segregation? No. Segregation, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, is a separation forced on an inferior by a superior. You segregate your children. You tell them where you want them to sleep. You know, you don't sleep in this room, you sleep there. No, you don't eat at this place, you eat there. You tell your children what to do because you're the superior. They are under you as an inferior. Therefore, you separate them according to what is best for you and the family. White folk put us under segregation. They were the boss. We were the inferior. They said, you niggas live on this side. Don't come over here. No. This is your school. This is your church. And nigga, you get in there and sing. Get in there and beat your tambourine. Don't come in our church. You stay over there. No, you don't drink from this fountain. You drink from that. You gonna ride on our bus? Well, nigga, you sit in the back. All white folks sit up front. Do you understand? And evidently we understood. But black people are so resourceful, we started making something out of nothing. We took segregation in the deep south and we developed our own gas stations, our own bus companies, our own insurance companies. We developed our own business, our own farms, our own schools. Just look at black people. Now, segregation forced us to deal with our own, but we definitely thought like inferiors because we always wanted what white folks had because we thought that because it was white, it was superior. Yes. White folks, knowing that black folk now are moving ahead to stop that movement, they offered us integration. Now, what is integration? Politically, integration is a scheme of an elite in government to take diverse ethnic groupings and minimize their ethnic background, culture, and whatnot, and maximize the new cultural norms so that all of these people from diverse ethnic strains would accept the new culture, the new norms, the new folkway, minimize their traditional norms and culture and folkways, and then you have integrated them into a political body. But this doesn't work when you deal with racial strains. Now, when you try to integrate yellow people or black people into this body, it don't work. America went to war with the Germans, but the German Americans, when the war broke out, were not put in concentration camps. That was left for the Japanese Americans, because they are not white, they are yellow. You hear me? And ever since you've been trying to integrate with your black self, you have not made it. And now you've had 15, nearly 20 years of integration trying. Now let's reason. Come on. Now, yes, you can ride in the front of the bus. No, I'm not making mock of it. That's all right. I'm glad, because at least you can sit where you want. Now, you can sleep in the white man's finest. That's right. If you can pay $125 a night. You can eat wherever you want, even though they may spit in the food. Hey, you need it. But in your rush to integration, you lost what you built up under segregation. You lost your own hotels, you lost your own restaurants, you lost your own businesses, you lost everything that was yours. White folk took it over, is that right? All the land that we once had that was ours, we're losing land daily in America. Is that right? Right. So integration hasn't served us well, has it, brothers and sisters? Come on, let's agree now. You here at Howard University. Where you think you're going to get a job? When you leave here with your BS degree, where do you think you're going to get a job? If the white man can't provide a job for himself, can he provide one for you? Then where's your future looking to white folk to provide a future for you when they're unable to provide a future for themselves? This is the 80s, not the 60s. I want you to think, brother and sister, what's in store in the 1980s? This is the conclusion of this lecture. Bear with me now. Yeah. No, we don't want segregation. We don't want the kind of integration that John Kennedy was talking about, forcing white people to accept us. You know, the word integration has as its base the word integer. Yeah, that's right. And an integer in mathematics is a whole number. That's right. And there is an axiom in geometry that says the whole is equal to the sum of its parts. Now the key word is not whole nor parts, but its. If I have 8 slices of apple pie, 8 slices of delicious bean pie, and I take 4 slices of the bean and put it with 4 slices of the apple, and take 4 slices of the apple and put it with 4 slices of the bean, do I have a whole pie on this side? Do I have a whole pie on this side? I don't have a whole pie. Why? I have 8 slices, but the whole is equal to the sum of its parts. And since the nature of the bean is different from the nature of the apple, they do not belong together in the same pie. Is that right? All right, I want you to listen to me. All right, I am for integration. Don't make any mistake about that. But I am for integration in its proper context. What do you call integration? You and I, whether you're a Muslim Orthodox or a Muslim Shiite or a Muslim follower of Elijah Muhammad, whether you are a Christian of any denomination, whether you are a nationalist, whether you're a socialist, a communist, or atheist, whatever your philosophy is, you and I belong to each other. Therefore, we must have that kind of genuine integration. Do you agree? If you're a Kappa, if you're an Alpha, if you're an Omega, if you're a Sigma, if you're a Delta, that's different denominations of the Greek order, but we are one people. Is that right? So should not we work for integration? Come on now. That's right. Well, I don't want to work with integration with niggers. Now, you were willing to suffer with Dr. King to get integration with white folk. You mean to tell me you can't suffer just a little bit to get some integration with each other? Now, I heard that people would tear down my posters. They don't like Farrakhan. That's all right, beloved. I love you. Well, I hate you, nigga. If I got my hand on you, I know you would. But Allah is the greatest. I'm going to dodge your hand and duck your hand, because I know your hand is directed by mine. It's not quite together. But I love you. And I will duck out of your way until I wear down your hatred of me and your hatred of yourself with the love that I have from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for you and for all black people. I am willing to suffer for this kind of integration. I am willing to die for this kind of integration, because I know that when we become a whole people, then we can deal with the leverage of a people against another people. We can come to the table with some strength. Won't you fight for integration on a right way?
Yes, sir.
So look, beloved Christian, let's not argue about what we believe. Let's reason about it. But just like you didn't argue with white folks about what they believe, if they wanted to march with you, you joined over and gave them a picket sign. Come on, Miss Ann. We shall overcome. But when we gonna overcome being niggas? When we gonna overcome our problem with each other? When are we going to overcome the problem of disrespect of our women and disrespect of our men and disrespect of our scholarship and disrespect of our leadership and disrespect of that which others among us hold sacred? We must overcome it, beloved. That's the kind of integration that we implore you to. Miscegenation? No. You know, God made all those kind of birds. And I don't think you find a black bird jumping down in the white bird nest. Come on, move over, baby. You know what I mean? Yeah, but them are birds. We're human beings. But there's a principle, beloved, that I don't want you to lose sight of. Certainly you're human. And we can have an intercourse or relationship. I better put it in a higher language. When I say intercourse, I'm not speaking on a low, filthy level. We must know all the peoples of the earth. We must meet them. We must have relationship with them. But look, brothers and sisters, you must love yourself enough that you don't want to mix up your blood with the blood of the peoples of the world. You want to keep yourself straight. I mean, we've been messed up enough. Let us try and turn inward now first and show that love for self.
That's right.
Now you may say that's not scriptural. Oh yes it is.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
God did not want Israel mixing her blood with strange people. And you are the Israel of the Bible, the chosen people of the God And God has chosen you for a very special purpose, and He does not want you mixing your blood with the people of the world that you are destined to become the ruler of. Now, this is not black supremacy because of blackness. This is black supremacy because God has chosen to exalt us today as He exalted the Arabs yesterday, as He exalted the Jews and Chinese and other people. This is the day of our exaltation by the will and command of the Almighty God. So we don't want no miscegenation.
That's right.
Well, what do you want? We want separation. I believe, as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that we should have our own schools. I believe, beloved, and I'm sure you believe with our experience that this is correct, that a black mother must teach her black babies. We must not allow the enemy to have the freedom to teach our children as they had the freedom to teach us and destroy our minds. Do you agree? Now, all right. Do you think we should build our own hospitals? Don't we have people that are learning medicine here? Don't we have doctors, nurses here? Specialists of every kind being developed? Where's your field to practice it in? We need to set up institutions that will serve our own people. This is not racism. This is common sense. We need our own. We need international trade and commerce. We need to develop our own institutions and develop economics, agriculture that will feed 30 million people and take our mouths out of the white man's kitchen. Don't say that it can't be done, because with the learning that's in this room tonight, it could be done just from this audience. There's enough scholarship here to put the hands of our people to work, realizing what Marcus Garvey said, what Noble Drew Ali said, what Elijah Muhammad said, what Booker T. Washington said. We can put our people to work. It must be done. This is the 80s. And so, beloved, if you can see that we need something of our own, the next question is, can we get it under the American government as it presently is? Come on. Do you think white folks want you to be free?
No, sir.
Oh, that's interesting. We agree then, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Do you see, beloved, the rise of anti-black sentiment in this country? Did you see on 60 Minutes the killing of those black brothers and sisters of ours in New Orleans? Did you understand the nature of the killing of our people in Memphis?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand the nature of the killing, the lethal, legalized killing of Willie Brooks? The movement is on to destroy us as a people. But America, as I say this in parting, there's something in store for America that will hurt you and me, but it will ultimately help us. Allah is actually setting His hand against the wealth of America so that you won't be fascinated by America's wealth anymore, because she won't have any wealth to offer you. Just bear with me, because it's at the conclusion, and some of you are very tired, and you don't have to clap if you don't want to. But look, I know you're not used to listening to nobody this long, and I understand. And the chairs may be soft in the beginning, but the longer this thing goes, the harder those chairs get. I understand, but I am finished. Beloved, listen. She's in trouble. She's in great trouble, brothers and sisters. But you that love white people and want to integrate with them and not with yourselves, you are in trouble too. Because now, you see, in the time of his fall, you're going to keep pushing it. Give me what you got. Give me what you got. And he's going to say, this is what I got. I'm not laughing, and it's not funny, because in the 80s you're going to see black men, women, and children slaughtered in the streets of America. I'm sorry, I have to say this. And you will be slaughtered because of your rebelliousness to true principles upon which you should act. You are rebelling. You're just stiff-necked, hard-hearted. And you just in love with white folk. You don't want to leave them. You don't want to give them up and do something for yourself. So the scripture says that those who would not hear Moses, they were suffered to be bitten by fiery serpents. And now the serpents are fiery in that they are angry and they are wicked in their anger. Beloved, don't give them a chance to vent their anger on us. I think we've suffered enough. I think to every reasoning man here, if you study what Elijah Muhammad taught, his teaching is validated. Not because I say so, but the proof of it is that the whole movement could be destroyed. And then a disciple of his could stand up, willing to follow his guidelines, and by the grace of Almighty God, bring it back.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That proves his leadership.
That's right.
It didn't depend on his physical presence, because we know he's physically absent, but he is spiritually present. And now movement is germinating again among black people.
Yes,
look at it. The 60s are coming back again. The signs of it is marching in the street, blood beginning to be shed. Remember, 1963 was the turning point, and 64 brought the riots. This is 83. This is the last year of so-called tranquility, black man and woman. What's in store? Look, America, write it. America is headed into war. She's headed into war. And she wants you to fight for her in 84. I say to you, black man, tell America.
Come on.
Tell her. And if you don't have the strength, call me. I will tell her for you. We fought for you in Germany. We fought for you in Guadalcanal and Bataan. We fought for you in Japan. We fought for you in Korea. We fought for you in Vietnam. And we left our bodies strewn on every battlefield, foreign and domestic. You promised us justice, but here we are. We have built your country, and you have not offered us not even the tiniest state of Rhode Island, that we could have a state that we could call our own. We maintain your country with our sweat, our blood, and our lives, and you never shared nothing with us. This time around, we refuse to fight. We refuse to fight. We refuse to die for you. We refuse. You say, well, they'll put us in jail. Why fear jail? You've been in jail all your life. One more jail to get out of it all together forever? Let us go then. If death will get us out of it all together, let us die like men and not like faggots. Let us die like men and women. The government of America, our fight is not in Asia, our fight is not in Central and South America, our fight is not in the Middle East, our fight is here with you in our 400-year-old unanswered quest for justice. Oh, black man and woman, gird up your loins and take on strength. This is the final hour, the hour in which all of the debt shall be settled between the slave and his master. They will not kill us and get away with it. America, you cannot fight war on the outside and revolution on the inside. Your own people are now turning against you. And it is going to increase because white folk are not used to suffering. And when white folk don't have jobs, can't put steak on the table, can't feed their babies, then they turn on their government leaders. That's right. Yes, what's in store, America? War, America, for you on the outside and revolution for you on the inside. What's in store for America? Oh, America, those tiny little nations in Central and South America. It is written that they will hate the whore, make her desolate and burn her with fire. Now the anger of Central America and South America is kindled against Reagan. Mexico cannot pay her national debt. Brazil, Argentina. If 3 or 4 of these countries that American banks have loaned money to default in their payment, then major banks in America will close down. What does this mean? Oh, America, you have delighted in crushing out our leaders. You have delighted in destroying our spokesman. Now live and see your own spokesman destroyed. Destroyed by the hands of your own people, whom you have armed to the teeth, thinking that they're going to kill us. Some of us they will kill, but you, they are going to kill more, fulfilling the scripture. If Satan cast out Satan, how then can his kingdom stand? Oh, black brother and sister in America, this is your day. Look up, black brother. Look up, black sister. You have suffered. You have been through it. Now you are coming out of this day of darkness and suffering into the hope and the brightness of a new day. Sing a song full of the faith that our dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Black man and woman, lock hands together. Muslim and Christian, agnostic, atheist, socialist, communist, nationalist. Let us recognize the integration of the whole, the synthesis of the whole, and march on into that new day. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum. Brothers, all praise be to Allah. Brothers and sisters, the hour is late, but we're going to have a very short question and answer period. And if you will, the tape of tonight's lecture is being high-speed duplicated right now so that when the question period is over, you can go right out and don't be impatient. Get the tape, take it home and study it if you will. And may Allah bless us to produce this synthesis and integration of the whole of our people. If there's anyone who has a question that you'd like to ask, if you will wait until those who have to leave, and then we'll have a few minutes to answer questions. Is that all right? Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'll just wait until those who have to leave, and then we'll entertain a few questions.
There are a couple of announcements I have to make. They're on sale outside. You'll find tapes, lectures, and the newspaper. Also, February 28th, you're going to be entertained or educated, more appropriately, by Kwame Ture. And that's going to be at 7 p.m. in the Blackburn Center. February 28th.
Brothers and sisters, we'll take about 5 or 6 questions, all right? Now, those who would like to ask a question, would you please raise your hands and stand with your hands raised so we can recognize where you are. Would you stand, please, brother?